On this edition of Early Look, I'm going to be previewing the main event for UFC Freedom Fights 250, aka UFC White House. My name is James Lynch. If you never watched the show before, I'm going to go through a bunch of different stats and intangibles, and then I'm going to give you my prediction for this fight at the end. Let me know in the comments after you're done watching this what your prediction is for this fight. Would love to hear from you and discuss this fight. And again, this is part of the historic White House card, going to be the main event, doesn't get much bigger than this. And if you guys have missed it, I previewed most of the fights on here already, including Pereira Gane, O'Malley Zahabi, Nickel Dawkins, Lopez Garcia, and Lewis Hokit. The only one I haven't previewed is Rufi and Chandler. Don't know if I will. I think that's a pretty obvious fight, but let's talk about this one between Topuria and Gaethje, and we'll start with doing a quick tail of the tape. This will be for the undisputed UFC lightweight title. Topuria is 17-0, Gaethje is 27-5, 29-37, so big age gap there. 5'7" to 5'11", 69 to 70. So Gaethje's actually going to be bigger than Topuria in this spot, but Topuria much younger. Let's start first with El Matador, Ilia Topuria, as we break this fight down. So I mentioned it there, 17-0, 7 knockouts, 8 submissions, and 2 decisions. He is 29 years old. He is 5'7" with a 69-inch reach. So the only advantage he has here is that he's 8 years younger. He's the current lightweight champion. He's the first 2-division champion with an undefeated record. He's 10th multi-division champion in UFC history. He was a former UFC featherweight champion, first Georgian-born champion in UFC history. He's got performance of the night 5 times and fight of the night 1 time. Did not have an amateur debut, went straight to the pros way back in April of 2015, made that UFC debut in October of 2020 against Yusuf Salal, which is crazy to think how time's flown by like that. He's 9-0 in the UFC. He's got 7 stoppage wins. Some of the notable wins in his career include Bryce Mitchell, Josh Emmett, Alex Volkanovski, Max Holloway, and Charles Oliveira. Doesn't have any losses, so has no notable losses. He's had a couple layoffs in his career. Let's go through some of those. Going from Ryan Hall's a middleweight. Ryan Hall to Jai Herbert. There's a 252-day layoff going from Jai Herbert. It's going from Josh Emmett to Alex Volkanovski. There was a 238-day layoff going from Holloway to Oliveira. There was a 245-day layoff. And then going from Oliveira to Gaethje, it'll be the longest layoff of his career, 351 days. Of course, we know why. Obviously, the stuff outside the cage for Topuria with his separation from his ex-wife. That's why he was supposed to fight on the Paramount card in January, and that's why they did the interim title fight instead between Gaethje and Pimblett. So now we get this fight in June. So something to consider when you're looking at this fight. Topuria will have a long layoff coming into this one. Topuria hasn't had any close fights in his career. The only decision fights he has had with Emmett and what was the other one? Yusuf Salal. They were pretty clear cut, so don't need to debate that. Let's look at his stats right now. If you look at Topuria, significant strikes landed per minute is 4.81. His striking accuracy is at 48%. His striking defense is at 64%. Doesn't get hit that much. Takedown average is 1.96. His takedown defense is 93%. We'll see if Gaethje goes for any takedowns. Probably not. I think this fight's going to end up staying standing. So that's pretty much everything you need to know about the current lightweight champion. Now let's talk about the interim lightweight champion. It's a mouthful there against the highlight, Justin Gaethje. So you can see there, 27-5 record. Gaethje is got 19 knockouts, 2 submissions, and 6 decisions. He's 37 years old, 5'11" with a 70-inch reach. So he'll have a 4-inch height and 1-inch reach advantage. He's the 2-time UFC interim lightweight champion. He's the oldest fighter in UFC history to win a lightweight title. They're very specific about this, so it's not the undisputed one, obviously. But yeah, being 37, he's the oldest to win a lightweight title. In this case, an interim title. He's the only 2-time interim champion in UFC history. He's the 1-time BMF UFC champion. He's got fight of the night 10 times, and he's got performance of the night 5 times. Don't need to go through all the names, or we'd be here for the majority of the video. Did not have an amateur debut, went straight to the pros way back in August of 2011, made his UFC debut after a pretty incredible run in World Series of Fighting, which is now known as PFL, back in July of 2017. Gaethje is 10-5 in the UFC. He's got 6 stoppage victories. Some notable wins include Edson Barbosa, Donald Cerrone, Tony Ferguson, Michael Chandler, 2 wins over Rafael Fiziev, Dustin Poirier, and Paddy Pimblett. His notable losses include Eddie Alvarez, Dustin Poirier, Khabib Nurmagomedov, Charles Oliveira, and most recently Max Holloway was his last loss. He's had one kind of close fight, the first Fiziev fight, which was a majority decision win for him. 17 media members scored the fight for Gaethje, 10 scored it for Fiziev. This is on MMADecisions.com, where the media can submit their scorecards. That was back at UFC 286 back in March of 2023. He's had a couple layoffs throughout his career. Let's go through those. Going from Khabib to Chandler, there was a 378-day layoff. Going from Oliveira Oliveira to Fiziev. There was a 315-day layoff going from Poirier to Holloway. There was a 259-day layoff going from Holloway to Fiziev again. 329-day layoff, Fiziev to Pimblett. There was a 322-day layoff, and this is one of the shortest times he's had in between fights here. 139 days from the Pimblett fight to the Topuria fight, so you got to like that Gaethje already got some action earlier this year. Let's look at Gaethje's stats. The striking stats are actually higher than Topuria, so we see Topuria here at 4.81. Gaethje comes in at 6.48. Now, part of that, too, is Gaethje has a lot more fights. He's had a lot more 5-round fights, too, so that, I'm sure, plays a role in it as well. At least off the top of my head, I think Gaethje has more 5-round fights. Maybe he doesn't. Someone can correct me, I'm sure, in the comments. His striking accuracy is at 58%. His striking defense is at 51%, which is not a great stat to have when you're fighting a guy like Ilia Topuria, who's got some serious knockout power. Takedown average 0.33. Takedown defense is 74%. Let's have a look at the odds. And as you can imagine, Topuria a big favorite here. Some books having him minus 800, some having it 750. The comeback on Gaethje anywhere from plus 525 all the way down to plus 460. Tapology tells a similar story. If you look at the fan voting here right now, majority of people do have Topuria, 94%, 6% having Gaethje, 97% of the people picking Topuria, picking him by KO TKO, 2.1% by submission, and 0.9 by decision. Gaethje, if he wins, 77.9 by knockout, and just 20.8 by decision. Okay, which way am I going in this one? I'm not going to leave you guys. Oh, hold on. We got one more. The AI prediction from Fight Signal gives the edge to Topuria just slightly here at 54.33% compared to 45.67%. I will have an AI predicts video for the White House card that you guys can check out. I'll have that out fairly soon, and you guys can get more in depth as to how they came to this number here, but wanted to reveal that they do like Topuria in this fight. Okay, my pick in this one, I don't think it's a huge secret here. I'm not going against the grain. I am taking Ilia Topuria, and I'm going to take him by a second-round knockout. So a couple of reasons why I like Topuria by knockout, and I like Topuria in this fight. I use this term every now and then when it comes to talking about certain fighters. Alex Pereira, I think, has what I like to call the death touch. It's kind of a play on words, and if you guys remember Bloodsport, remember they did the brick thing, and I forget, the dim muck is what they call it on Bloodsport, and I believe that translates to the death touch. Topuria's got that death touch. So does Alex Pereira. So does certain fighters. It's like, you know that if you go into a fight, there's a very good chance of a knockout win. And Topuria's just done that. And I mean, the most incredible part of what Topuria has done is not even the fact that he's getting like a ton of knockouts. It's that he's knocking out like some really impressive competition here. We're talking about Charles Oliveira. Max Holloway had never been knocked out until he fought Topuria. He gets knocked out. Volk, same thing, other than obviously Islam knocked him out at 155, but Topuria knocks him out at 145. Very impressive. So again, it's pretty scary what type of power this guy has. And if you look at Topuria, especially earlier in his career, he wasn't even much of a stand-up guy. He has more submission wins than he does knockouts, but just by one. But still, it's pretty incredible how far the stand-ups come along. So anyways, he's got the death touch. You're fighting a guy who's got 51% striking defense. That's not a good recipe for Justin Gaethje. Add in the fact that Topuria is 8 years younger. He's faster. I just think he does everything that Gaethje does just better. He's faster. He has better knockout power. Gaethje's probably a better wrestler, but Gaethje doesn't use his wrestling that much. And I think on the ground, Topuria has shown that he's got an incredible ground game as well. We don't see it too often, but I would argue he's got a great ground game as well. And the thing with Gaethje is he's not really knocking guys out anymore. The Poirier win that he had, which was his last knockout victory back in 2023, that was a head kick knockout. It was kind of one of those ones where it just happened to land, but you don't see Gaethje going out and like one punch knocking out guys like he used to, like he was doing in World Series of Fighting. Now that could be a combination of things. It could be the fact that he's getting older. It could be the fact that the competition's getting harder. Like he wasn't able to knock out Michael Chandler. He wasn't able to knock out Fiziev, and we saw Fiziev get knocked out in his last fight by Rufy. Again, Rufy's another guy I would almost put in that death touch category as well. And he couldn't knock out Pimblett. And honestly, like if you look at Pimblett, he's got like 41% striking defense, and he wasn't able to knock him out either. So I just don't think Gaethje's as dangerous as he's been in years past. And to me, that's his only path to victory here, really. I think is trying to knock Topuria out. We have seen Topuria wobbled. He was dropped against Jai Herbert a couple years ago. That could still happen here. And I'm not going to say Gaethje can't knock him out, but I just don't see a lot of that knockout power that we've seen in years past as well. And let's be honest here. This isn't the best fighting the best, right? I mean, and this is no slight on Gaethje. He stepped up to fight Pimblett in January, but it should be Arman and Ilia. That should have been the fight. We know what's going on with Arman outside the cage. I think Arman would beat Gaethje. I think we're getting a good fight that should be very entertaining and awesome, but we're not getting the best fighting the best. The best fighting the best would be Ilia either fighting Islam or fighting Arman. And I just think Gaethje right now is sort of beneficiary of circumstance. He ends up taking the fight against Pimblett, which a lot of people didn't think was going to happen, and then he gets it, and now he's the interim champ, and now he fights Topuria. So it's kind of by design here. Again, last thing I'll say is that Gaethje has not been super active over the last couple of years. Like, again, he fought Pimblett in January. Nice turnaround here. But overall, you look at Fiziev was one fight in 2025. Holloway was one fight in 2024. Poirier, just not that active either. Topuria's been much more active over the last little bit. Anyways, I don't think I'm saying anything crazy here. I think most people are probably on the same boat as me. Topuria, second round knockout, maybe first round knockout. We'll see. I didn't think he'd knock out Charles in the first round either. But saying that, there are two concerns. Like I said, it's the layoff for Topuria coming into this fight, and the fact that we have seen Topuria get rocked before. He's kind of going to be meeting his match as far as the power puncher here. I mean, if you look at Oliveira, more of a ground guy than a power puncher. Obviously, Oliveira does have knockout power too. Holloway, not really a knockout guy. Volkanovski's not either. Emmett was, but again, you're getting an older Emmett when you fought him. So that is one thing to keep in mind, is that he is fighting someone that does have heavier hands than he's had as far as past matchups. So long story short, I'm going Topuria by second round knockout. Let me know in the comments what your prediction is for this fight. Who do you think gets it done? I would assume most are picking Topuria. If you like Gaethje here, tell me you like him. I want to hear how he gets it done. Put that in the comments. Would love to hear from you. Follow me on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, @Lynch on Sports. My name is James Lynch. This is Early Look. I'll see you next time.